Hello, I'm Floyd Hall, one of the co-founders of Canopy Atlanta. Canopy Atlanta is a digital publication that's launching in the fall of 2020 that tells stories about Metro Atlanta's neighborhoods in collaboration with those communities. Each Canopy Atlanta issue will focus on a different neighborhood in Metro Atlanta, and our first issue will focus on West End. And so, with this conversation, which we're entitling West End Generations, we're glad to have our audience here as we talk about the legacy of Black-owned businesses in Atlanta's West End neighborhood, featuring Thomas Portis Jr. of the Benjamin Moore Southwest Paint and John Onwucheka of Portrait Coffee. This dialogue will highlight issues of community, culture, entrepreneurship as seen through the perspectives of both established and emerging West End businesses. So with that being said, welcome to the conversation, Thomas Portis Jr. and John Onwucheka. How y'all doing?
Yeah, thank you.
Good, man. We're doing well. Yeah. Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Good.
So glad to have this conversation with you all. We're excited about West End. And as we thought about this inaugural issue, we really wanted to dive deep into some of the things that make it so special. And I think when we started to really think about, the culture of West End, it kind of goes back to the community businesses and, the people that are behind those businesses. So I want to start off with the senior member, of the business conversation here, and that's Mr. Thomas Portis Jr. Thomas Portis Jr., excuse me, of Southwest Paint. Mr. Portis,
yes.
Take us back as far as you can to what you remember about the earliest days of your business in West End. What was West End like for what you can remember? What was that time frame like for you? Just give us some backstory with that.
It started, my dad started this business September 23rd, 1973. I was 9 months old. My dad recently told a story that the reason that he got into the paint business was because he had a newborn child. And he didn't have any money, and he wanted to start and be a part of his own future and his own business. At that time, the West End was going through a change in culture where lots of the current residents were moving out and making way for the new Black residents that were coming. That includes homes and businesses. I had the privilege of kind of being here at the paint store my entire life. I attended the Catholic school in the next block from first through eighth grade. So every day after school, I would walk to the paint store to basically do my homework and take part in being with my dad here in this business. Growing up, I can say that I honestly never and said to myself that I would never be here at the paint store. I had dreams of doing everything that a young kid would do except be at the paint store. And I started full time in January of 1992. And I think that makes me, I've been here now full time for 28 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes, it is. Thank you. It's amazing to me that people can come from all over I like to think the world, but at least the United States, and somehow end up in the West End or near the West End. And that kind of says something to me about this place, that it must have an energy that attracts all types of people. And when they come, all those types of people seem to want to be involved some kind of way. They bring their culture, they share their culture, and it seems like it's an awesome melting pot for residents and businesses.
Well, just Mr. Portis, thinking about what attracts folks to West End.
Yeah.
I think that's a great segue to John. So, John, you're beginning a very different business in terms of Portrait Coffee, but you heard Mr. Portis talk about, West End being this magnet. So for you, what made West End so attractive as a place where you wanted to put down roots and begin your own entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. So our entrepreneurial journey was more, strategically reactive. And so as I hear Mr. Portis talk about his dad and his desire to start the paint store, it's funny. Yeah, 50 years later, we're right here, and I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and a lot of that is the same thing. So I actually moved to the West End as a resident. I lived on the east side of Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta about 12 years ago, and we bounced around from like Buckhead to East Atlanta, and then had some friends move over to the West End probably a decade ago. And whenever we would come here and be with them, we saw something unique, right? Like everybody in Atlanta has a front porch, but people in it, folks in the West End use their front porch, right? And they invite you to come on, and just this thriving sense of community and family. And whenever we would come, we just couldn't shake that feeling. So, 6 years ago, we sold our house on the east side and just moved here to the West End just to be a part of things. And so our lives have been very intertwined with the community here. And so when we wanted to start a coffee shop, it really was like, there was no other place in our mind that we would rather have seen that start. So we just really want our whole lives to, we want kind of the solar system of our lives to be here in the West End. So we live here in the West End. We worship here in the West End. I pastor a church on RDA that's 4 blocks from where the shop is. And now we have this shop here. So we just want to live, work, worship all in the same community.
Now, John, for those who may not know the backstory of Portrait Coffee, could you maybe share the vision for that and really what makes Portrait Coffee so unique in terms of the story that you all are trying to tell with that, and I guess tie that back into your vision of why West End is so important for Portrait Coffee to be starting in that neighborhood.
Yeah. So we our name really is an aspiration of our vision, what we hope it would be. And it really just comes from the fact that we feel like that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And unfortunately, in the country in which we live, thousands of words have painted a picture of history that has unfortunately photoshopped people that look like us out of it, right? And so we were inspired from freed men that were slaves, like Frederick Douglass, who once he learned how to read and write, the very first thing that he did was he wrote a narrative of his life. So there was a prevailing story of history that was told that excluded him, And so he wanted to make sure that people like him were inserted in the dominant picture of history. And we found the same to be true, especially when it comes to coffee, right? Anybody that thinks of specialty coffee, you know, the first thing that comes to their mind is Starbucks, or even like in the generation of where we are, the picture that comes to mind is hipster and white and all of those things. And we're glad that there's such a diverse group of people that are included, but we've really been impacted by the facts that, coffee was something that originated in Africa. To this day, coffee grows where Black and brown people grow. And so we're just trying to change the picture that comes to mind when people think of specialty coffee. We think that it could be a platform to be able to do good and to tell stories of people like us, stories like the Portis stories that y'all are trying to tell. And so our aim is just, let's lead and let's try to pour a new narrative when it comes to the prevailing picture of people like us in communities like ours trying to do good in the world.
Mr. Portis, John mentioned that word narrative and story, and I think with the length of time, we talk about 1973, if we're talking about being a part of West End for just, that sheer, number of years, I'm curious about how you all see yourselves as part of the narrative of West End, and can you maybe speak to some of the different time frames that you experienced? Like, what were the 80s like? What were the 90s like? I think, neighborhoods change in different, with a different pace, but I'm just wondering, as a business that's been in business since 1973, can you maybe speak to how West End has evolved over that time?
I'll say, I think I'll start from maybe my birth 70s to the 80s. The 70s, the 70s in business at my family household were really tough. My dad was trying to get the business off of the ground, and it took many hours, many sacrifice hours, lots of hands-on dedication, basically to help support and build this business. My mom was definitely a tremendous factor in helping not just my dad grow this business, but maintaining that household at the same time. The 80s showed signs of really great improvement economically for pretty much everyone in the West End. It seems as though the 80s up until about the mid 90s, things were really progressing for personally and business and the community. But after about the Olympics, there seemed to be an economic slowdown that was gradual, that affected pretty much everyone who was in the housing market. And if I'm correct, after the Olympics and going into the 2000s, if I'm correct, I believe that the 30310 area code was the hardest impacted area for mortgage fraud and the collapse of the housing market.
Yeah, yeah.
That definitely affects the paint business, and we definitely experienced the economic crunch from things just going from being progress to just basically a shutdown. That's a slowdown. We've experienced bad economic times before, but none that spanned it for such a long period of time. So to be able to withstand, to be able to withstand that point, to be in this point now, I will have to say is just truly a blessing from God, and definitely the support of all of the wonderful customers that we have, the community, the wonderful people who tell a friend about us, that friend tells a friend, the awesome network of just people who are seeking a better paint buying experience coupled with a better quality product. That's uh, that's been our model for 47 years, to try and treat everyone with respect, dignity. We realize that you can go anywhere in the world, but we sure are glad that you come to our establishment, where I think it's a rare scenario where you can go anywhere and see a father and son work together, and you feel, if not good when you leave, you feel better when you leave than when you came in.
Well, Mr. Portis, I like how you framed that, and I would love for maybe you to speak on how do you get to know the community, right? Because John is just coming into the community as a business owner, if you will, but I'm interested to learn from you, being at the shop every day or however often that you are there these days. How do you begin to pick up on the energy of the community in terms of who comes into the store, and what's troubling the community, what people are excited about? Like, how do you get to sort of tap into that energy when people are coming into the store?
That this is one thing that I know about being in the West End, and that is the community is going to let you know who's part of the community, that they're part of the community, and that what their role is in the community. I don't think that you have to really, I don't think that you really just have to go out and identify people of the community. People come to you and let you know who they are, and who their friend is, and what street they live on, and who told them about the time that they came in the store. And after a while, you begin to, I guess, you begin to get invited to people's homes for events. You get an opportunity to come to the West End Christmas party.
Christmas party, yep. Yeah.
You get an opportunity to you get an opportunity to participate in a lot of events. I think that if anything, just stay put. You'll find out who's who. You'll find out who's who, and they will continue to do. I mean, they will champion your business like they are a silent partner or just a partner in general. That's all I can say. It's an interesting dynamic. It's maybe one that can't be explained. It just is what it is, and you look up 50 years later saying, wow, this has been an incredible ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there were still some of the old neighbors who were present who could see the change in the West End from just, not just 5 years ago, but from just 10 years ago. That there have been people that I have convinced who were wanting to bail out. These were people who were residents. They were wanting to bail out and move from the West End. And I encouraged them. I say, stay put, stay. And now we laugh about it all the time because they say, you convinced me to stay. And I'm so glad I stayed. One guy stayed in his house and bought another house in the West End.
Wow.
It's an interesting dynamic. Interesting dynamic, and just interesting to be a part of this ride. It's an awesome ride. It's one that I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't. It's a ride that I'd be able to trade, and I'd like to take the ride again.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Now, John, when you hear that, right, and you sort of are at the beginning of your ride, right? At least when it comes to being a business owner, can you maybe share, your vision, I guess, for that ride, if you will, in terms of what you want Portrait to maybe grow into, and how you want people to make involved in that journey with you?
Yeah. So a lot of what he said about his story is, kind of the hope. So his experience really is our aspiration, right? And that's what enticed us as residents of the West End to want to start a business in the West End, because I know as a resident just how much the community comes and supports and buys in. So it really is there are people that maybe come from wealthy backgrounds, and when they launch a business, their family serves as this safety net to ensure that they'll succeed and thrive. And then there's those of us that don't come from that background, but the West End is every bit of that family, right? People that are going to make sure that this thing thrives. And so in the same way that we want to help us, or that they want to help us build, our hope is that we're able to return the favor and just to be, a staple in a community where there is a place where people can come and gather, and relationships are formed, and over coffee, right? Business plans are developed and refined, and we really just want to be a catalyst to see more and more of the same.
John, for our viewers out there who may not really know the ins and outs of specialty coffee, or sort of like the sort of ecosystem, if you will, around coffee, because you maybe, in simplified terms, sort of lay out the coffee industry, if you will, and how Portrait Coffee is different from a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts.
Right. All right.
Go with that.
Yeah. So let me do my best, or I'll start off and just kind of give you a picture that helps you to see where it is that we're trying to get in. And I'll use an analogy. So if you get on MARTA in Atlanta, it's our train system, and it runs south to north, east to west. If you get on at the South train station, airport station, and ride north through Buckhead and North Springs, there's a few things that you'll see. One of the things that you'll see is as you move north, the inside of the train changes, right? So the train's gonna go through airport, then College Park, then Lakewood, then West End, and then it's gonna go to Five Points, and then you start to go north, and it heads through downtown, Art Center, Buckhead. And if you ride the train from south to north, what you'll see is the inside of the train will change. So it starts off, right, all Black folks, and by the time that you get to the north, it's all white folks. But what you see is that when it's not just the inside of the train that'll change, the outside of the train starts to change too. So the further that you go north, the economic conditions improve. There's money and all of that stuff. So what you get on this train ride is you get black and brown people taking their exit before they get a chance to take advantage of the economic opportunities that the city has to offer. And so I bring that up because if you take the steps in the coffee supply chain and overlay it with the MARTA stops, it's the exact same thing, right? So coffee, like I said, grows where black and brown folks grow. That's think farmers. So the people that own the land, that meticulously spend 10 to 12 hours per day picking that cherry off the tree, that's the southmost train point. And the northmost train station is the $18 bag that you would go into Starbucks to buy. All along that train stop, and it goes from the farmers that take it to being able to wash the fruit, then export, then import, then roast it, then retail. With each stop that it goes north, more and more people that look like us take their exit off of the train while the economic conditions improve. So our aim is, hey, we want to start a shop, and I think the barrier to entry is low, so we can come in at the top where we roast, or so not just where we, sell our own beans, but where we take care to roast our own beans, right? So a Dunkin' Donuts, right, or a Starbucks, groups like that, they've got roasteries that are trying to mass produce all of these beans. And when you're trying to mass produce all of these beans in the quantities that they do, there's a level of care and concern that you can't give to it, right? So it's like if you want beef, you can go to Ruth's Chris and really get your steak done right, or you can go to McDonald's and have it mass produced. So a specialty shop is more like a fine steak, right? A good place. And so what we're trying to do with ours is not just have this shop, but in the basement of our space is going to be our roastery. So where we'll import the beans ourselves, we'll roast those beans on site, and those will be the beans that we use and sell. And so with that, it provides a resource, not just for us to provide a good shop to the community, but the hopes is we can do education and stuff like that. So people that want to break into that field there's a very, very clear pathway in the West End where it can be your entry point or your doorway into this world of coffee.
Thank you for that. And what comes to mind when you lay out sort of the economic sort of framework around coffee, I think that makes me think about, again, the importance of Black economics and how people are understanding the value chain and being involved in different aspects of that. And I guess I want to extend that to Atlanta a little bit and get maybe your take, Mr. Portis. As someone who's been in business for 47 years, can you maybe speak to the importance of Black business owners to Atlanta and how you all have played a role in framing how we understand Atlanta, framing how we understand Black people in Atlanta, but just like how important, are the Black businesses or the Black economic class or the Black dollar? Just give some perspective to what that means to a city like Atlanta.
That's a tough one. That's a good one. All right. So I'm going to try and answer it with, we know that it is very, 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 very important. The black dollar is super important. We are marketed to. We are targeted in commercials.
Yeah.
Our culture is shown to us in commercials that I mean that the black dollar is extremely powerful. Now, the black dollar would be more powerful if more black people put their money in a place to then help strengthen the black community.
Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, especially black people, that talking about support is just talking.
Right.
I think that when it comes to conversation about support, we are high on the list of talk.
Right.
That I mean, there are times that people who don't understand what it's like to own a black business just do too much talking.
Right.
So I say that to say that it is important for us to understand that in order to continue to move ahead, we need to actually put our money where our mouth is.
Right.
And that is reinvest in ourselves, which also hopefully means that you're going to reinvest in your community. And hopefully you'll seek out doing business with a black person.
Yeah.
I think it is just as challenging to go other places to find goods and services as it is if you were to just seek out a minority business.
Right.
If more of that began to happen, then that would definitely strengthen how other people take the black dollar and the black community more serious.
Absolutely.
I'm just unfortunately, I don't like the conversation or the easy thought that because a black person is doing it, all other black people could do it and it's easy. It's not easy, okay? It's not easy opening up a coffee shop. All right. It's no people who've never done that don't understand again the dynamic, the drive, the determination, the finance, the sacrifice that it takes on a day in, day out basis, not just when you are open for business, but you take that burden home lots of times.
Right.
You on vacation thinking about that business sometimes. So in my opinion, I think that black business owners could be supported better with less compensation and more economic stimulation.
Right.
And definitely not the kind of stimulation in the form of a payback loan.
Right.
All right. No black business wants to. No black business wants to go into more debt trying to stay open.
Right.
So, I guess my takeaway is less conversation, more monetary, more realistic monetary support.
Well, we are glad for this conversation. You know, I know we have other conversations, but this conversation is very important, at least to us, and hopefully to all the folks who are watching us as part of this dialogue. You know, it's hard to ignore the obvious state that we're in right now when we talk about COVID-19 being such a prevalent part of our new reality. And I guess I wanted to maybe ask both of you, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected, you, Mr. Portis, in terms of staying open, and you, John, in about to open. How has that affected each of you in terms of your business outlook? I'll start with you, John, just kind of answer that since you're on the beginning end of this journey.
Yeah.
How has COVID-19 played a role in how you're walking into this journey right now?
Yeah, it's completely reshaped just how we think of business right now. So we incorporated last summer. We raised our initial money to build out the space over the holidays, and we started off the year, trying to find a space and all that stuff. We signed a lease on our building on RDA. We're 2 or 3 doors down. We're 2 or 3 doors down left of the Portis right there. We signed our lease the first week of March, and 2 weeks later, things shut down. So we haven't been able to be in the spot. So early on, we read an article that said, "Welcome to the Ice Age," and the premise of it was certain folks thought COVID-19 was just going to be a bad snowstorm. Certain folks thought it was just going to be a bad winter, right? That things would be that way for a few months and then it'll get back. But the guy that wrote it said, it's better if you think of it as the ice age and that things are going to change, that we don't know when things will get back to normal. And that's where we really took some time and said, hey, our cafe was supposed to launch July 2020, then fall 2020. Now we look at first quarter 2021. And so we've just leaned into, all right, we've got to do direct business to consumer sales, right? And this is where being able to roast our own beans helped us, because our aim from the start has been to be more than just a shop, but to bring an industry to a community. So we started off with, what we could, where my business partner got in his car, and if you lived in Atlanta and got your coffee, he'd drive it to your house and put it on your front doorstep. And so it's just this thing where it's just, we just had to turn on a dime and just say, all right, what are the parameters in which we can operate, and how do we do that as best as we can? So it's just that, like you brought up, Mr. Portis, the hustle and the grind and the determination, and every entrepreneur has to have a little bit of naivety and hopefulness. Like, it's going to work because it has to work. And so we've just leaned in to try to do this thing the best way that we could. So.
Mr. Portis, same question to you. How have you weathered that storm, or continue to weather that storm? How has COVID-19 impacted the paint shop?
In the beginning, I guess we were hopeful that this was going to be maybe at best a 2-week month situation. Yeah. We made a decision early on when the city was closed down for essential businesses that we would still roll the dice and come. We kind of felt like people were going to be stuck at home, so they were going to be wanting to do some project that they never had the opportunity to do, never had the time to do, and we started out with shorter hours. Of course, it would have made my dad sad to have to stay at home during COVID and not come to his favorite place. The paint store is similar to his vacation spot. If he can't come here 6 days a week, then it's right. getting them to stay at home would have been much harder. Okay.
Right.
So we came up with we teased each other, or at least I teased him, and said that our mission was going to be, we're going to sell paint. We're going to sell paint to whoever wants to buy some paint. And if we don't have anybody to sell paint to, we're going to sell paint to each other. So we decided that we were going to continue to put some paint where it ain't.
Yeah.
The traffic has the in-store traffic has definitely changed because lots of the commercial and institutional business and accounts that we did slowed down tremendously. Lots of those factories or schools weren't really doing any painting. It's changed though that we've developed more new walk-in traffic, and that has made that has filled the void of a day. We still have shorter hours. Business is still definitely down, but every day it has been worth it to come to work because people want to be doing something and being productive at home. I think if anything, as challenging as this time is, it has definitely brought some new things to the forefront, some new perspectives, some new priorities. And I think it has made lots of people more aware that some of the things that they took that were important or must haves or must do or must be, it has caused them to kind of reinvent their entertainment level, which is entertain at home or entertain in the backyard. So many people fixed up their backyard during this time, or fixed up their front porch, or fixed up their front porch and fixed up their backyard, so that they could just enjoy being outside with their favorite whatever they like to do when they sit outside. or both favorites when they sit outside. So it has been it has been a storm to weather. But like everything, this too shall pass.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I don't know how closely you all, you know, may know each other, or if this is your first time talking with one another, but I feel like because, you know, John, you're at the beginning of your journey and you know, the paint shop has a 47-year head start on you.
I'm still at the beginning of mine too. Okay.
There you go. But John, I want to know, you know, do you have any questions for Mr. Portis? You know, as you hear him talk about his story, you know, do any questions come to mind for you that you would love his perspective on?
Yeah, really, it's more so for just in terms of you know, I know adversity is a part of everybody's story, and I think thus far we've been blessed to be able to rotate right now. But I just live my life like not so much daydreaming about prosperity, but trying my best to prepare for adversity. And so from that standpoint, I think I'm really interested in, you know, what y'all held on to. So when things got really, really bad, not just this past time, but with the mortgage fraud, and you think of the community that we're in, where it's like the houses are vacant, so nobody's going to do anything to the inside of that. What did y'all hold on to? What kept y'all going?
My parents and my dad in this business always preached to, or I'm reminded, you know, I got reminded this morning. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm my dad's oldest son. Sometimes I'm back to that little boy. But always preached to to definitely live within your means. When it comes to the paint store, my dad is extremely, if it's not selling, don't order it.
Right.
Don't order more than what you need that's going to sit on the shelf. Nothing on the shelf that you got to dust.
Right. That's good.
He was definitely blessed in this situation because at the time that this store was being at the time when the gentleman who was here at this store, the paint store wasn't always a paint store. It was really a vinyl and carpet store, and it sold just a little bit of paint. So when the neighborhood began to change, the owner no longer wanted to be in the business. My dad had an opportunity, and Benjamin Moore had a really great program at that time where they would help business owners, and I imagine even a minority business owner get started with very little to zero money, just to and help and assist you in the business. The owner of the business was an interesting guy. He was not really an elderly guy, but an older guy who he was white, who was kind of racist in the sense that he did not want his business to go to some new black entrepreneurs. And the ironic thing is that he had a Native American wife. He ended up selling the building to the gentleman who owned Peter Street Rug Shop. Ironically, they were Jewish. And they actually asked my dad that at any time that he wanted to make an offer on buying the building, they'd sell it. So the blessing has been that at a young time in the development of the paint store, my dad realized that one of the only ways that it was going to survive for the 47 years was to be in charge of the building.
Right.
So I don't remember in what year that was. It seems like it was kind of maybe in the early 80s that offer became available for him, and he took advantage. And that has been one of the, I put that along with being frugal, every day. I think that one of the main killers of a retail business is the real estate. And so he's in charge of the real estate, and that is what has helped us survive some of these challenging times. That we didn't have to worry about a landlord who was going to put us out. Yeah. So
that's excellent.
I think that accounts for at least 75% of the success. Coupled with just some fantastic customers who just believe in there, and there are other customers who not just because you're black, who just believe that they got treated right, they got treated with respect, it was fair, it was honest, and I don't have a problem with telling anyone that they may need to go somewhere else and buy the paint, because I want to tell you how to do it right, so you won't be mad at me at the end of the job.
Right.
So, though that the real estate part, the fantastic customer base part, and just all wrapped up into just being blessed.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah. We have about 10 minutes left, but I think that as we look at this moment for us, Canopy Atlanta, we're focusing on the West End neighborhood and I think it's hard to tell the story of Atlanta without talking about West End. I think it's just a very important neighborhood for the city. And so I think as we look forward maybe a little bit, what do you want, or like what are your aspirations for West End? As you look forward, as the city changes, as the neighborhood changes, as new folks move into the neighborhood, what are some of those things that you value about the neighborhood, but also B, that you want, to see kind of go on, forward, for the next 47 years, in business and in culture and just in general?
Yeah.
I hope that it continues to skyrocket like it's been doing. I hope that this COVID situation doesn't stifle the growth, the explosive growth that it's experienced in the last 5 years. I mean, I can remember a time when there was no talk about a coffee shop, neighborhood, restaurants in the neighborhood. I mean, that people would talk about, why don't you put it in the West End, and that it would be a no-go.
Right.
But now, I mean, it's jumping by leaps and bounds, and I just hope that continues to be just like that for the business owners, including the residents. I hope that that the people realize the property values, and they continue to work on work on their houses, and the new neighbors come in and continue to help strengthen the neighborhood. I hope that it continues to do what it's doing right now.
Yeah.
No change. The only change I'd like is if it just started doing it fast.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm right with that, and I just hope. My hope is that in that change, that the community keeps the main thing, right, and that the growth, that they would see that the growth isn't just an end in itself, just so that we can have more and better nice things. But I hope that we see the growth as a channel or as a means to an end, right? That I want to show that at the end of that growth, so that we can continue to invest in the next generation of folks here in the West End. And so that West End really becomes this beacon of light in terms of what, like what could be in terms of Black business and entrepreneurship and connection and community, and just an actualized picture of the potential of what can take place when we come together and stop competing and partner together. So hopefully the West End would spur on more West Ends like this, not just across Atlanta, but across our country.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I guess even taking that a little bit further and thinking about how West End is growing now, are there any specific things, not just about your business, but are there any specific things that you would love to see in the neighborhood that currently don't exist? As things are changing now, as things are growing, are there certain assets in the neighborhood, are there certain just other things you would want to see in the neighborhood that, as it's currently being reconstructed and reframed, that you would love to see in West End and be a part of that change as it goes forward?
I think I'd like to see Ralph Abernathy and Cascade finally pothole free, and
right.
They're not working on it anymore. That's the extent. I think that the neighborhood itself is going to continue to attract the positive everything, resident and businesses. So that change, I think, it's going to be positive anyway. But I would like to see I'd like to see the finalization of the road work.
Yeah.
Or whatever the street improvement is. I'd like to finally see it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. You know, long term, I would love to see different, just a diverse kind of cacophony of groups come in and make their home base here in the West End. So I would love to see more, like, you know, people that have moved to Atlanta with the aim of trying to spark this vision for entrepreneurship and creativity. So folks like, you know, like Bevel or groups like that, I would love to see groups put their home base of offices in a West End. So it's just, so that, people that come up here in the West End can just see all types of pictures of what Black business looks like. So.
Well, we are almost at our time, but I would love to leave our last 3 minutes or so just to let you all, let our viewers know how they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, how they can support you as business owners. With you, John, and then you, Mr. Portis.
You can go to Portrait Coffee on our Instagram, and that's just the best way to look and just keep track with our story, or www.portrait.coffee. So easy. That's our website. Order coffee, get a subscription, track with us. If you don't drink coffee, buy it for somebody else, and stay tuned as we launch this journey towards the cafe being launched.
Nice. Mr. Portis?
Southwest Paint, we're a Benjamin Moore dealer, 1043 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, Atlanta, Georgia, 30310. We're here Monday through Friday from 8 until 3 p.m. and on Saturday from 9 until 2 and closed on Sunday. One of us, if not both of us, are going to be here every day of those days, and we'd enjoy having any new, old, or just come for the experience. That's we just happen to sell paint, but we're gonna give you an experience.
Right. I love it.
Love to hear that. Thank you both for sharing, your time, your stories, your history, your perspective. I mean, this is very valuable to us because we would not want to, be in the West End and connect with the West without trying to capture stories like these. So on behalf of Canopy Atlanta, we thank you all, and we just can't say enough about your generosity and having this moment with us. So that being said, we hope that everyone who's watching supports these two businesses and continues to support Canopy Atlanta. And we'll talk to y'all next time.
Thank you. And very nice meeting both of you. All right. Y'all be good. Stay strong. Stay safe.
All right.
Thank you.